So behind me, I have my last warm-up loaded at 365. And today I'm just continuing the progression of my 6x2, which I've been using for several months now. I first started at a 6x2 at around 365 with my normal competition bench grip, feet on floor, just a good old-fashioned bench press, right? And I worked that up week by week using progressive overload, adding 10 pounds every week until I was at 395 for 6 sets of 2, which is about the time I injured my adductor and I can no longer bench with my feet on the floor without causing further damage. So I then went to a Larson press, dropped all the way back down to 365 for 6 sets of 2. I then worked myself all the way back up again using the Larson to a 6x2 at that weight. I then started this prep, which I then once again started back at this time 375 with a mid grip. So mid grip for me being my normal competition bench is pinky on the ring. Close grip would normally be with your hand all the way in on the knurling. So mid grip is in the middle of that. Not as wide as my competition grip, not so close as a close grip bench. What this does is it uses more tricep. It makes the bench press harder through a longer range of motion. And overall, it was just harder for me to do. So now here we are at 395, once again, 6x2 in a third variation. So this week, assuming I make it through all 6 sets, I will now once again be back at my previous personal records in the other variations and tying my previous PR in my competition bench stance, showing a clear progression over time. This is day 1 of week 2. This means that if I'm going in 3-week blocks, which I currently am, next week I should be at 405, assuming that I do complete this set with enough conviction that I will go up to 10 pounds. This will at least tie my previous personal records, matching the other variations, but this will set me up for a new personal best in a harder to use variation. And this is normally how I progress over time, even when I'm doing the exact same sets, reps, volume, and anything else involved. So moving on, let's hope that it moves really well. So that did in fact move well enough for me to continue on loading. Where's it at? 395 for my 6 sets of 2, my working sets. And I will post my first set and my 6th set, ideally then being very close to the same bar speed, which is what we're looking for in something like this, a heavy push with very low reps. And as long as my bar speed does not drastically drop off, I will be continuing on to a 405 6x2 next week, which will be an all-time best for me in this variation, in any sort of variation, this time being even better using the mid grip. So whenever I do go back to my traditional grip for this, which I will before this prep is over, I will be ideally at an even heavier weight. So let's move on to the working sets. I am in fact going to go up, but I am going to decide between a 5-pound jump and a 10-pound jump. But I'm not going to make that decision today. I will make that decision on the day and just mark it on my program as a +5 or +10 weight jump for next week. And depending on how my warm-ups feel, I will choose the 5 or 10-pound jump. And now we're just going to move into the secondary movement of the day, incline bench. So I just want to take a minute here to speak on two of the most important things, at least in my opinion: intention and intensity within your training. So you see a lot of people get hyped up, hit the smelling salts, scream, stomp their feet for a big squat, a big bench, a big deadlift. But when it comes to the accessories, you can see that the energy and the intensity and the focus is just not there. When you really break down your training, you are spending way more actual time training your secondary movements and your accessories when compared to your main movement. They are indeed extremely important, and you need to approach every single movement with the same intensity, intention, and focus as any lift. If you look through all of my accessories and my main movement, you can see I use nearly the exact same setup. Whether it be a row like this here, the same intention and intensity and focus is there no matter the movement. So approach each lift with the same intention, the same intensity, and the same focus in a repeatable pattern that you can drive the most out of your training, whether it's an RDL, a hamstring curl, or a 1 rep max for a squat attempt.